David Morrison of NASA's Lunar Science Institute, this week on Planetary Radio. Hi everyone, welcome to Public Radio's travel show that takes you to the final frontier. I'm Matt Kaplan. Yes, we're going a bit loony this week, and not just with David Morrison. Jack Gregg heads the sponsor of the second Lunar Regolith Challenge, which tried to give away $750,000 just over a week ago. We'll get his post-challenge analysis later in the show. We'll also learn in Emily Lakdawalla's Q&A why some solar eclipses are nice and long while others not so much. And you'll have a chance to win a car when Bruce Betts joins me for this week's What's Up segment. A small car, a really small car, like 2 inches, but Bruce's report is as big as the night sky. Bill Nye will return next week. Remember how we teased you last week with the possibility that the Phoenix Mars lander had found something very significant that Peter Smith and his team weren't ready to announce? Well, sorry to let the carbon dioxide out of that rumor. Phoenix's Mika instrument has found evidence of perchlorate in the Martian soil. That's chlorine with oxygen, and it's not nice. But Peter emphasizes that this does not preclude life on the red planet. Besides, other instruments saw nothing. The details are at planetary.org, where you can also read about another Cassini flyby of Enceladus just as this show becomes available. With a long and distinguished history in space science, including his founding of NASA's Astrobiology Institute, David Morrison now finds himself the interim director of the space agency's new Lunar Science Institute. He spoke to me a few days ago from the Institute's headquarters at the Ames Research Center near San Jose, California. David Morrison, thank you very much for joining us on Planetary Radio.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Please tell us a little bit about the NASA Lunar Science Institute. I'd ask for your history, but I don't think you've had time to build up much of a history.
That's true. This is a new organization founded by NASA just this year to provide a science base for lunar exploration, and in fact to do some of the same kind of things for lunar science that the NASA Astrobiology Institute did for astrobiology, namely help create a new multidisciplinary science field, train future lunar scientists, deal with public outreach and education, wrap this all together in a way to provide a clear stimulus for scientists to go into lunar science.
As I understand it, you're not exactly speaking from some huge new 10-story headquarters up there at Ames.
I'm speaking from a delightful headquarters at Ames, namely one of the oldest buildings here, the former Admiral's Quarters in the old Moffett Airfield base, facing out on a big parade ground of grass.
I used to love driving past there when I was a kid because periodically you could see the pregnant guppy sitting out on the tarmac, and we'll let people look that up if they're not familiar with it. But really what I was getting at is that you're looking to partners that you will be hooking up with to actually conduct the research, which is central to the mission.
That's right. Again, we are following the model of the Astrobiology Institute, which was founded 10 years ago and is perceived to be very successful in bringing together scientists from all over the country and international partners in a virtual institute, what's sometimes called a co-laboratory, which means that they won't all be sitting here in one big or small building, but will be working in their own laboratories and their own universities and linked together so we can talk to each other and try to pursue a common purpose while mostly concentrating on the individual science done in those organizations.
How are you going about selecting these partners?
We have a solicitation out right now calling for proposals. We expect to select something between 6 and 8 teams. Each of those is multi-institutional, covering the broad range of lunar science, which for us is perhaps broader than most of your listeners normally think of, because in addition to studying the moon itself as a planetary object, studies of the moon, we're also interested in supporting studies on the moon, the kind of thing that will lead to human exploration. This could be life sciences. It could be exploring the lunar atmosphere, the lunar dust. And finally, studies from the moon, meaning to use the moon as an observatory platform to study the Earth, the Sun, astronomical objects. So we have a broad definition of lunar science, and we're looking forward to getting lots and lots of proposals that will explore different aspects of that mission.
I have a NASA press release in front of me that is only about a week old that appears to announce your selection of your first partner.
That's right. We are having a rather formalized competitive selection, like other NASA grants, for the U.S. teams because we send them money. But meanwhile, we're also interested in teaming with international partners, affiliated groups from other countries, and since there's no exchange of funds there, it turns out to actually be easier. Thus, we're very proud to have announced last week that Canada has become the first international partner of the NASA Lunar Science Institute.
And this is, I guess it's Canada's University of Western Ontario. Do they have a particular direction for the lunar research that they conduct?
They are primarily interested in what I think of as traditional lunar research, studies of the moon. And they also are very interested in using the analog environments, such as Houghton Crater in Devon Island. But I would add also that it isn't just the University of Western Ontario. They are the node, the center, but they bring to the table other researchers at other universities and also have the support of the Canadian Space Agency.
Huh, okay. So really, if I had what I thought was a brilliant idea for conducting research of, on, or from the moon, and hopefully some qualifications to back that up, there'd be nothing to prevent me from responding to your request for proposals.
That's right. You still have about 3 weeks to do it. But I would emphasize that what you really described was a PI-type activity, a single principal investigator or a single small group. And those are funded through the more traditional programs at NASA. We are looking for teams. We're looking for teams that bring together a variety of people, a variety of institutions, multiple approaches so that we can pull together this total institution and, incidentally, also have a large group of scientists that can be called upon to help advise NASA about its lunar programs.
What role do education and public outreach play at the Institute?
It's very important to us because, this is the direction NASA's going, and one of the things that sort of intrigues me is that unlike most areas in astronomy and planetary science, you can look up there and see the moon. It's real. It's our neighbor in space. It's cohabited with the Earth since the two were formed 4.5 billion years ago. So we think there's a big potential for public interest. Certainly there was tremendous public interest in the Apollo era, and we're simply looking at ways to stimulate that. The individual teams will have their own public outreach or educational people and propose their own ideas, and we'll link those together. But I would think the Planetary Society also would be very interested in the moon, and you are. It's just one of the planetary objects in our system, but it's close, and we are going to be sending a lot of spacecraft there in the next decade.
Yeah, in fact, my colleague at the Society, Bruce Betts, participated in a conference that you folks sponsored just a few weeks ago. In fact, it got underway on a pretty auspicious anniversary of lunar science.
That's right, and that anniversary, which was the 39th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing, is not a coincidence. Part of our charter is to hold a international lunar science conference every summer at the time of that anniversary. This allows us to celebrate Apollo and get some publicity out of that, and at the same time to bring together a large number of scientists who are doing lunar research and who are planning for future exploration.
Well, you certainly hit the ground running for an institute that just got underway late last year. What else is in store for the near-term future of the institute?
We have a tremendous task ahead of us, as you might imagine, to go through all of these proposals that will be coming in at the end of August and try to select the teams, because I'm sure we'll be way oversubscribed. There are lots of really interested groups there, and one of the things that pleases me very much is the number of young people. The Lunar Science Conference that we had 2 weeks ago, the audience was full of young faces, and some of the students and postdoctoral students are already forming their own lunar science student group. So all these things will be happening, but if you ask me what I'm going to be doing, it's mostly worrying about evaluating those proposals and selecting the initial teams.
I wish you luck with that, Jeff.